A drone slams into Russia's railways. Fires, delays, warnings of a massive attack. But the war isn't just on the battlefield. Ukraine uncovers a drone graft scandal. Zelensky walks back control after nationwide protests. Trump hints at new talks with Moscow and tougher weapons for Kyiv. And pressure builds, with sanctions, sabotage, and skies ablaze. This is VERTEX, and this war is far from frozen. A Ukrainian drone attack damaged a power line and sparked a fire at a railway station building in Russia's southern region of Volgograd overnight. The regional administration said on August 4th that an unexploded drone fell on railway tracks near the Archeta train station. On the Telegram messaging app, the regional administration said, citing Volgograd region's governor, Andrei Bokharov, as saying,
"No damage to the tracks has been reported."
Russian state news agency TASS reported several regional trains were delayed in the area. Russia's defense ministry said that its units destroyed a total of 61 Ukrainian drones overnight, including 6 over the Volgograd region. The ministry reports only the number of drones destroyed, not how many Ukraine launched. The region's administration cited Bokharov as saying the attack was massive and targeted energy and transport infrastructure. Meanwhile, Ukraine's anti-corruption bodies said on August 2nd that they had uncovered a major graft scheme that procured military drones and signal jamming systems at inflated prices, 2 days after the agency's independence was restored following major protests. The independence of Ukraine's anti-graft investigators and prosecutors, NABU and SAPO, was reinstated by Parliament on July 31st after a move to take it away resulted in the country's biggest demonstrations since Russia's invasion in 2022. In a statement published by both agencies on social media, NABU and SAPO said,
"The agencies caught a sitting lawmaker, 2 local officials, and an unspecified number of National Guard personnel taking bribes. The essence of the scheme was to conclude state contracts with supplier companies at deliberately inflated prices. The offenders had received kickbacks of up to 30% of a contract's cost. 4 people had been arrested."
Zelensky, who has far-reaching wartime presidential powers and still enjoys broad approval among Ukrainians, was forced into a rare political about-face when his attempt to bring NABU and SAPO under the control of his prosecutor general sparked the first nationwide protests of the war. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky wrote on Telegram,
"I heard the people's anger and submitted a bill restoring the agency's former independence, which was voted through by Parliament on July 31st. There can only be zero tolerance for corruption, clear teamwork to expose corruption, and, as a result, a just sentence."
After meeting the heads of the agencies who briefed Zelensky on the latest investigation, he wrote on August 2nd,
"It is important that anti-corruption institutions operate independently, and the law adopted on Thursday guarantees them every opportunity for a real fight against corruption."
Ukraine's European allies praised the move, having voiced concerns about the original stripping of the agency's status. Top European officials had told Zelensky that Ukraine was jeopardizing its bid for European Union membership by curbing the powers of its anti-graft authorities. US President Donald Trump on August 3rd said Special Envoy Steve Witkoff will travel to Russia this coming week.
Well, there'll be sanctions, but they seem to be pretty good at avoiding sanctions. You know, they're wily characters, and they're pretty good at avoiding sanctions, so we'll see what happens. But Steve is focused right now on the border in terms of, we're talking about with Gaza, getting people fed. And he may be going, I think next week, Wednesday or Thursday, may be going to Russia. They would like to see him. They've asked that he meet, so we'll see what happens.
Responding to questions from reporters on what Russia could do to avoid looming sanctions, the US president replied,
"Yeah, get a deal where people stop getting killed." They had a number that just came out that a tremendous number of Russian soldiers are being killed. And likewise, Ukraine, a lower number, but still thousands and thousands of people. And now we're adding towns where they're being hit by missiles. So it's a lot of people being killed in that ridiculous war. And, you know, we stopped a lot of countries from war, India and Pakistan. We stopped a lot of countries. And we're going to get that one stopped too. Somehow we're going to get that one stopped. That's a really horrible.
The US leader, who returned to power on a pledge to swiftly end the war, has in recent weeks rolled back his earlier conciliatory approach toward Moscow and signalled openness to arming Ukraine. Meanwhile, President Zelensky's top advisor urged the US to strangle Russia's economy by imposing secondary sanctions on Moscow's trading partners, as the White House push for a ceasefire appears to languish. Andriy Yermak, the head of Zelensky's office, wrote on Telegram on August 3rd, citing data he said shows a collapse in Russian railway capacity over the past 12 months.
Sanctions are working. The economy, geared for war, cannot withstand the pressure and is holding on only through the sale of energy resources. It is possible to strangle the economy with secondary tariffs proposed in the USA.
Yermak appeared to be referring to proposals from Trump and a bipartisan group of senators to impose secondary sanctions on nations doing business with Russia, particularly those purchasing fossil fuels from the country. China and India are among the top importers of Russian energy products. The threats raised hopes in Kyiv of a sustained White House pivot to back Ukraine's efforts to repel Russia's invasion. Ukrainian officials continued their appeals to the US to respond to perceived Russian provocations with concrete measures, Zelensky said in a statement posted to Telegram on August 1st.
Ceasefire proposals have been made long ago. Ukrainian proposals, US proposals, and many others around the world have communicated this to the Russians. Each time, the only response from there has been attempts to gain more time for war, more time for terror. Russia does not operate otherwise. So it is very important that the prospect of new sanctions, strong sanctions, has now begun to put pressure on Russia. And not only against the aggressor state itself. All Russian finances, every scheme that fills the Russian budget, must be targeted by the world.
Both Russia and Ukraine have continued their long-range strike campaigns despite White House pressure to agree to a ceasefire. The attacks continued through into Sunday morning. Ukraine's Air Force said Russia launched 76 drones and 7 missiles into the country, of which 60 drones and 1 missile were shot down or otherwise suppressed. In Sochi, on the Black Sea coast, local officials said falling drone debris set fire to a major oil depot. And in the Voronezh region, local Governor Alexander Gusev said 4 people were injured by Ukrainian attacks, which also set fire to a residential building.